A massive shakeup is coming to American finance, one that could change how millions of people borrow, spend, and pay for everyday life. Capital One, one of the largest consumer banks in the US, has announced a $35 billion deal to acquire Discover Financial, merging two of the country's most recognizable credit card giants into one financial powerhouse. This isn't just another merger. It's a landmark moment that could transform the future of credit, competition, and payment networks in the US. If approved, this deal will create the largest credit card company in America by customer base, and the first time in decades that a bank-owned network could challenge Visa and MasterCard's dominance. Let's break down what this merger really means and why it could change the way Americans use money. First, the basics. Capital One is a household name, known for its "What's in your wallet" ads, a massive customer base, and a reputation for blending technology with finance. Discover, meanwhile, operates not just as a credit card issuer, but as a payment network, similar to Visa and MasterCard. That means Discover doesn't just lend money, it also processes transactions between merchants and banks. By acquiring Discover, Capital One isn't just buying another credit card company, it's buying a payment infrastructure. That's the real power move. Right now, Visa and MasterCard control about 85% of all US credit card transactions. American Express and Discover handle the rest. By owning its own network, Capital One would be able to process payments directly, avoiding the fees it currently pays to Visa and MasterCard. In other words, this merger could allow Capital One to compete vertically, from issuing cards to processing payments, a level of control that no other major US bank currently has. But why is this happening now? The short answer is scale, competition, and survival. The credit card industry is under pressure from multiple directions: new regulations, fintech disruption, and rising default risks. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has been pushing to cap late fees and crack down on what it calls junk fees. That threatens one of the most profitable parts of the credit card business. At the same time, competition from digital payment companies like PayPal, Apple Pay, and Block is heating up. Consumers are increasingly moving away from traditional cards toward digital wallets and alternative payment systems. In that environment, size matters. By merging, Capital One and Discover will be able to pool resources, expand their merchant reach, and invest heavily in new technologies like AI-powered fraud detection, personalized credit analytics, and digital banking infrastructure. This is not just about financial strength, it's about technological leverage. Capital One has long positioned itself as a tech company that happens to be a bank. It was one of the first major lenders to fully migrate its systems to the cloud and embrace AI for customer insights and credit scoring. Discover, on the other hand, brings decades of expertise in network operations and payment security. Together, they could create a hybrid financial tech powerhouse that blends the best of both worlds. But the impact goes far beyond the two companies involved. If the deal is approved, it could reshape the entire credit card landscape. For consumers, this might eventually mean better rewards and lower fees, at least in the short term, as the combined company seeks to attract and retain customers. Capital One could use Discover's network to negotiate lower transaction costs with merchants, potentially passing some of those savings to users. But critics warn there's another side to the story. Mergers of this scale often reduce competition in the long run. Fewer players mean fewer choices for consumers, and some fear that consolidation could lead to higher interest rates, tighter credit limits, or new kinds of hidden fees down the road. Regulators are already paying close attention. The Biden administration has taken a tough stance on corporate consolidation, especially in finance. The Department of Justice and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau are expected to scrutinize this deal intensely, looking at how it could affect both market concentration and consumer access to credit. One major sticking point will be network competition. Visa and MasterCard have faced antitrust scrutiny for years, accused of dominating the payments market and overcharging merchants. By acquiring Discover, Capital One could theoretically bring more competition to that space, something regulators might view positively. But there's a risk. If the new entity grows too powerful, it could simply replace one duopoly with another. Still, from an industry standpoint, this merger makes strategic sense. Credit card lending remains one of the most profitable segments in banking, but it's also one of the most vulnerable to economic swings. With consumer debt surpassing $1.1 trillion and delinquencies rising, lenders are under pressure to manage risk while maintaining growth. The merger gives Capital One access to a wider pool of data, allowing for more precise underwriting and credit modeling, key advantages in a volatile economy. It also strengthens their position in digital finance, where future growth will happen. Both Capital One and Discover have massive online user bases. Combining those ecosystems could help them build a more integrated digital platform, connecting loans, payments, savings, and rewards into one seamless experience. For Wall Street, this merger is a bet on the future of integrated finance. Rather than separate banks, lenders, and payment processors, the industry is moving toward convergence. One-stop financial ecosystems powered by data and AI. Capital One is positioning itself at the forefront of that movement. But this deal also sends a warning to smaller banks and fintechs. The era of easy growth is over. The next phase of financial competition will be about infrastructure and control, owning the pipes that money flows through, not just the products that ride on top of them. If approved, the Capital One Discover merger will create a company serving more than 100 million customers, processing billions in daily transactions, and competing head-to-head with Visa, MasterCard, and American Express. The ripple effects will be massive. Other banks may rush to find their own partners or networks to acquire. Fintech firms could see their payment margins squeezed as larger players internalize transaction costs, and consumers may soon find themselves living in a world where most of their spending flows through just a handful of financial super platforms. The question is, will that make the system more efficient or more fragile? For now, Capital One's bet is clear. The future of banking belongs to those who own both sides of the transaction. And this $35 billion merger is its ticket to that future. One where the line between bank, network, and tech company no longer exists.